and they just, and exactly what you said. A lot of them said, well, I'm not going to live forever anyway. I'm 85 years old. I'm lived long enough. If I die, I die. And yeah, there are some people that are still in the zone and they just don't want to leave. They don't want to leave their houses, and if I'm going to live another year, that's fine. If not, that's fine too. And so there are some people that just take it as is. On the other hand, as I just mentioned before, a lot of these older people have seen tsunamis from many years ago, and they said, nah, the wall will take care of it, the breakwater will take care of it. And so they didn't run away. They stayed in their houses, and most of them got washed away with the tsunami. And so I guess they just were so used to where they're living anyway, they just don't care what the fallout's doing. And many of them have said, we can't see the enemy anyway. It doesn't matter how far we go away, but I want to live. Was planning on dying in where I was born and raised. And so some of those people are still there. Yes. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah. Yeah, of course, when the tsunami hit, there were a lot of different animals that live in the ocean that died. It's been a year, but they're still in the process of finding out whether this has really had an impact, especially more than the tsunami, but the radiation. Things that are going on. They found a rise in mercury levels, they found a rise in radiation in some things, but some authorities are saying it's still not enough that would kill people to eat it, and some people are saying you should eat certain types of fish. And so, it'll take a little more time, but again, the government or whoever has to put more pressure on them to bring up this, and I think Korea is putting a lot of pressure on Japan so that they come up with this, and so it'll be the next year or so that you'll find out if a lot of this is going to happen. What kind of output, what kind of outcome is, what kind of influence it had on the wildlife as well. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Yes. They got a lot of fish coming in from different places, as far as Alaska and other places as well. And yeah, the fish is a little more expensive for certain types, and some have actually gotten cheaper because they're able to sell more. That they hadn't had a market for before. But yes, and the local fish, a lot of people just don't really want to eat it. And so yeah, they're kind of steering away from local. And they're trying to, as far as rice goes, they've had taken soil samples, and they say in a lot of areas it isn't enough. It hurt somebody, and so some of the rice is still selling pretty well with places that are very close to the area, but aren't exactly in that. But yeah. Usually when the name comes up, the people kind of shy away from eating that area stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
It's interesting that the government was talking about building other nuclear facilities. Aren't they concerned about, if you build nuclear facilities, you won't be able to use those areas, and Japan obviously has limited real estate. Are they concerned about utilizing the ground and what that does to the rest of the economy?
You would think so, yes. And I don't know what the right word is, in that I don't think they're very good at details, very minute details of any plan they come up with, but it just doesn't seem like they think about the long-term goal. They're trying to build 10 casinos in Japan right now too, but they haven't done it yet. But they're not looking at what it could do to the area around it. The mafia will come out. They'll have lots of problems. They'll have people get so sucked into these things that they want to go every day. And do you know what pachinko is? Pachinko is this game. It's kind of like a vertical pinball machine, but it's actually against the law to make money playing pachinko. But they haven't really worked out well. You go in there, it's sensor touch. You just touch it. These little balls go up. You keep putting 1,000 yen notes in, and it just keeps going up. It goes into these little holes. You get a lot of balls come out. You get what's called fever. If you line up certain things where these little flowers come out or whatever else, then you get tons of balls that come out and put in these big boxes. You can't sell these things for money. What you do is you take them to the front. They have a big counting machine. You throw them all in, they count them all out. You get these little plastic things that have silver and gold looking combs, like combs that you comb your hair with, and each one means something. And so they give you these things as presents, as gifts for getting them. You go outside the pachinko, you go around to a little area that's kind of dark. There's this little window, just a window. You can't see inside it, you can't see around anything. And you take these things and stick them there in a comes out and grabs them. And then all of a sudden cash comes up. They buy these things from you. And it's a $10 billion a year industry. But it's against the law. Yeah, and so they're trying to be in casinos, but see, they had a lot of people, a lot of mothers who leave their kids in the car for 20 minutes, they're thinking they're just gonna go play a little bit, and they get fever. They leave them in the car for 3 hours, and they had some little kid die a little while ago. And so they're not thinking of what could happen if they brought casinos in there, because Asians love to gamble. Macau is huge right now, and things like that. But back to, what was the question?
Well, they could recognize.
Yeah. But you're right, but the nuclear reactors is the same. They need energy, and it's cheap energy. Japan is hurting, but they still have a lot of money saved up, a lot of things they've done. But you're right, they're not looking at the long terms. The people themselves, I mean, they had 200 people come out to oppose this thing, and this is the first time it's ever happened. 200 people is not a lot of people, but for Japan, they're finally starting to come out, so maybe they will be able to do something this time. They had 1,000 people go to the Prime Minister's home, and so maybe it is the start of something to say that we've had enough, we don't want you doing it anymore. The Japanese, as far as technology goes, are probably the best in the world in a lot of things. Cell phones, solar energy, all the cars that they're coming out with, these hybrids, they've got all of the patents for everything that every American, every other country people are using. They have the patents. So they can do it if they want to. And I would think they'd be able to do something without having to go back to nuclear. But, you know, it's still a rumor, but they were thinking of making 200 of these suckers. And I said, wow, why? You know, but because it's cheap energy. It's easier for them to do, and they have learned from this mistake and can make something better. So they're thinking, but this is the government talking, it's not the people talking. So hopefully it won't come to happen. They are reducing up some of their reactors right now because they really don't have enough energy to support the country right now. And so they will do it, but hopefully in the future they will find better ways to do it economically and safely. You're right. What the Japanese are saying, though, and again, you won't know until it happens, they're saying it's not as bad as they're saying that they do have the technology to fix the land, to get rid of the stuff faster than Chernobyl as well. Whether that happens or not, I don't know, but that's what some people are saying. And that's why they've had these seal ice they're throwing all over. They have other things they're doing to try to get the land back to where it was before. The question that was back there before about them having a problem before, they sustained it, and apparently a little radiation got out. But enough to keep people a couple miles away from living there, but they're back living again. Everything's green again, so they don't know why. And so it's an iffy question. Maybe there was nothing at all. Maybe there actually was something that they did have some technology. I don't know. But you're right. I don't think it's something they should do, but they're not looking long term. They're looking short term right now. I'm working on education right now, and I'm trying to help little children. I teach between 4 and 12-year-olds how to think for themselves. Because Japan has always been big on thinking about whatever the majority says. And so if one person goes, they all go that way, and then they say, okay, well, then we'll all do it. And they're not really thinking for themselves. So a lot of this has been that way for many, many years. And so that's probably the same thing when it comes to this as well. Yeah, okay. Yeah. What erosion? Oh, yeah. Yeah. I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you. They do have some people that are bringing in plants and stuff. Japan has never been a very green country. They don't have grass. They don't have a lot of this stuff. Because they don't have enough land. It is considered a concrete jungle. That's what Japan is. They will go back to their old ways in a lot of ways, but I agree with you as well. The areas that they did have some greenery. They did have trees and things like that. I'm sure they do have plans to plant at least something, regardless of if it will help support the land more or not, but to put a little bit of more happiness into the people's lives. I think they are doing some of that. It's a good question, and I will bring that up the next time I talk to some of these people. Thank you very much for that. Yeah. I agree with you. Yeah, very good. Thank you. I will let them know. Yeah. Yeah. They are running out of energy, and that's why they've started the nuclear reactors again. Tokyo uses a lot of energy. The upper northern doesn't use that much, but that's where all the problems are right now. So they're using a lot of energy to bring stuff up to them right now. Kansai, which is Osaka, Nagoya, Kyoto, Nara, these areas, especially Osaka, they have a lot of small companies, lots of them. They're basically the backbone of Japan when it comes to manufacturing things. They build parts for the space shuttle. They build all the parts for the cell phones. Almost everything you have, you can touch, they build. And that's why they need a lot of energy. And they've been having Kansai go on a 3-hour blackout as well. And this is just something you can't do in Kansai because they can't manufacture anything. You turn off machines, it actually costs more to start them up again than to leave them off for 3 hours. And so, they're having a big problem with that, and that's one of the reasons I think they started the nuclear reactors again in southern Japan, because they're the ones that take care of Kansai area. And so you're right, they've been using a lot of the grid, but they're already starting to have problems with not having enough energy. So they have to do something right now for the short term, and hopefully long term they will not go back into nuclear full time. And so we'll find some other way. Yeah. I think are we running out of time, Andy? How much? Okay, ice 4 minutes. Okay. Any more questions? Yes. In what way?
Just some different storylines, with just ways of dealing with the whole grief and all that.
Yeah.
Starting to write stories that integrate that, whether it's a monster or something like that.
Okay, yeah. I have heard a lot of different stories as far as, in one sense, as rumors of what is going on with the psyche of the people there. I think in the long run, the one thing that they're really running a big problem is, and something they have to deal with as soon as possible, is the enemy that they can't see. No one has died yet, so there are actually very few stories. It's a dangerous place, so let's not get close, and that's about the end of it. In Sendai and Iwate, I've been up there many times, and they are telling stories about the days of how it was before the fishery, kind of like the Indians do, talk about when they hunted buffaloes and stuff like that. So they're trying to bring back positive things, and one day we'll be able to do this again. They are trying to tell stories like that. Again, one thing that the Japanese sometimes need help with is showing them how to tell stories. And so, because they try to keep a lot of stuff inside. The Japanese businessmen are the only ones that have heart attacks on golf courses. They say, if I put this in, I want to put this in, but if I win against the president over there, it's not good for face, and this and that, but I want to put it, he dies, So they're the only country, the only business people who die from heart attacks playing golf. And so they keep a lot of the stress and everything inside. And so they have to be taught, kind of like the Russians when they put up the first McDonald's there, they had to teach them how to smile and say, thank you for coming. It's kind of the same thing here, where they have to teach them how to get their emotions out, and they are bringing a lot of these stories back of the good old days. This is something the Japanese really have never done. History has always changed. It's not just the Japanese, but even Pearl Harbor, when this happened, a lot of the history books, if you saw them 30 or 40 years ago, they had actually changed a lot of the history. It was the Americans who were bad, and everybody else was bad, and they just had to do it out of necessity. A lot of the young people, you talk about Pearl Harbor, and then they really have never heard anything in their history books. They say, yeah, it was a good movie. That's all they know about it. They didn't even know it was a real thing, a lot of people. And so they're very literate. 99.9% of the Japanese can read, but sometimes the history is not there, and sometimes the storytelling is not what it should be. But I think you are starting to see a trend. They sit around fires now, like they may have done hundreds of years ago. They're sitting around fires now, talking about things that happened, 60 years ago, when fishing was going really well, and during the bubble, when things were really going on. One day it's going to happen again. I have been involved with a few of those. And so I see storytelling around the fires like that, of older people who are actually telling younger people what it was like, and they're starting to listen. And so maybe it is a change. That's a very good question, and I hope it continues to do that, because they need to talk about just last. I'll say this: Japan always talks about having the samurai heart, Samurai's cool, ninjas are cool, everything else, but if you think about it, the samurai are extinct, just like the dinosaurs are, which means whatever it was they did didn't work. And so I try to bring out in a lot of the lectures and seminars I do, you could say that as far as a positive thing of them, doing, mastering their skills, doing this and that. There will be a movie coming out, the 47 Ronin, will come out at the end of this year, with Keanu Reeves and Hiroyuki Sanada, who was in Last Samurai, and also, what's his name, Hiroyuki Tagawa. What's his name? Tagawa, yeah, he's the guy from Mortal Kombat, says, I want your soul. Yeah, the three of them are going to be in a movie. The 47 Samurai, 47 Ronin is the longest living story in Japan. They've made more movies and documentaries on that than anything else. And now Mr. Matrix is going to be in one of those movies. So it'll be interesting to see what they have. It's very quiet. And so they are bringing back different stories, but I think a lot of Japan, to save them now, I think a lot of they will have to bring some positive stories back to help them out. The site is really down right now with the economy, older generations, no more children, they've had very few children, Social Security is in the dump, it's dumpster, and there's just the problems with the tsunami and everything going on right now, so they really have a lot of problems. Yeah. One more question, and I think I'll finish. Okay?
I live on the Gulf Coast, Florida down there, and after the BP oil spill, they were held accountable for money. I've heard it say a couple times, 300 billion and space over the rebuild.
Yes.
I heard someone back here mention just 2 months ago, the entire bar washed up, I believe it was on Southern.
Yeah. Was it California? It was that area. Yeah, it was that area. Yeah.
They said they would deal with it, but they wanted to be compensated and for a lot of the, I heard them say it was like another big mile-wide thing, floating trash out there that's coming from.
There's a lot of trash coming this way, yes. And I think they just dynamited the boat, let it sink. The owner didn't want it anymore. They dynamited it, so it's in the bottom of the ocean now.
But are they getting a lot of people saying they want Japan to pay for it?
There are a lot of people saying they want Japan to pay for it. Japan, the government itself, did tell the company that they had to pay for all the cleanup and everything else. But as I mentioned at the beginning, the government is now the major owner of the nuclear company. I don't know how that happened, but they just did that. It was the same face or whatever. And so they may pay out the 13 and the 31 billion and then the 300 billion, but why did our taxes go up? It's basically they're going to try to flip something around here, I think, and so they're going to hold them responsible, but in the background they're going to try to get their money back as well. So it's kind of an interesting situation, but it's good to make the money, but in the next year make a lot of money and leave Japan might be the best thing for me to do. Yeah. You're right. It's not the same. Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah. Yeah. As far as the tsunami goes, I agree with you, and I think that they're just going to have to work together. As I said, with all the safes and stuff, if they're not able to give the money back to the relatives or wherever else, they're going to use that for the good of building the city up again. And that's a good point. As far as the nuclear reactor goes, no. A lot of it, they're saying in Japan now that it was a mistake made in Japan. And so they should be held responsible for it because it's them who kept pulling everybody along, not telling them the truth until it was too late. Because even the aircraft carrier from America was there, they could have pulled the special